everybody. I'm Rachel Ekstrom Courage from Litzberg, and this month I have picked for our book club The Illness Lesson by local author Clare Beams. This book is so unique and it has some themes that are pretty relevant today. The New York Times compared Clare Beams to Margaret Atwood and Octavia Butler, and this book would be fabulous for readers or book clubs who are looking for something unusual, beautifully written, and thought-provoking.
And there you heard it. And we are happy to have Clare Beams here with us to talk about our book of the month, again titled The Illness Lesson. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me.
So let's talk first about what this book is about.
Sure. So this book is set in the 19th century, and it's about a girls' school that is founded on the sort of radical idea that girls might be capable of some of the same things that boys are capable of. But the students arrive and an episode of sort of mass psychogenic illness begins. And the way that the school's teachers and founders react is sort of where the heart of the story is.
And the main character in this book, is she not being believed or listened to?
So the main character of the book is actually the daughter of the school's founder. And so she is a teacher at the school, but she too begins to experience symptoms. So yes, she has never had sort of authority over her own mind and body.
So I told you, I read Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale in college, and it changed me. It's a book that stayed with me. To hear that you are being compared to her by the New York Times, what is that like?
That was a pretty amazing moment. I think she is a writer who changes many people. I feel that way too. So that was one of those incredible moments that you want to just sort of record for yourself for all of the dark nights of the soul ahead.
And we know that Margaret Atwood's themes can sometimes be a little dark, thought-provoking, dystopian. Is your book like that?
So I have this species of red bird that I made up. So there is an element of the surreal, certainly, and I think that the school, while it is meant to be a utopian project, does kind of dissolve into dystopia in certain ways as well.
And let me get this right, this is your first novel?
This is my first novel. My first book was a story collection that was published in 2016, and my second novel comes out in April.
And what is that going to be about? I need a sneak peek now.
So it's called The Garden. I brought a galley of it, which I can maybe show you, although I will try not to knock everything over. So this one here, I'll put this here. This is The Garden, and it is a novel set in the 40s about a treatment for repeated miscarriage that a husband and wife doctor team is trying out at a kind of surreptitious house hospital.
Can we talk about The Illness Lesson and the connection to history?
Yeah. So when I began writing The Illness Lesson, I was living in Massachusetts, and I had just recently been to visit Fruitlands, which is where Bronson Alcott, the father of Louisa May Alcott, attempted to found this kind of utopian community where everyone would be equal and they would only take what the earth freely offered, and they all almost starved because no one knew how to farm. And so I was wandering around in this kind of very traditional New England landscape, and I just had this image of what if there was a bird that was too bright to belong there. And so I started sort of playing with those layers of history and the question of sort of what happens when strangeness is introduced into a very orderly plan.
Really fascinating stuff. Now, Rachel from Litzberg usually joins us for our book of the month. She wasn't able to be here with us today, but she did send a video that we wanted to share with you too about some events that are taking place this month, so take a look.
We have tons of literary events happening in our area. On November 9th, it's the Penguin Bookshop Writers Series with Linda Cass and Sherry Flick. On November 14th at the JCC in Squirrel Hill, Travis Baldry, the author of Legends and Lattes, is coming to town. On November 28th, it's the book launch for Sheila Squilante at White Whale Books in Bloomfield. Her book is called All Things Edible, Random and Odd, Essays on Grief, Love, and Food. All this and more can be found on litzberg.com on our events calendar.
Today. You mentioned a little bit about your book that's coming up, and do you have a date yet for when that's going to be released?
April 9th.
Okay, so look for that. And where can we find The Illness Lesson?
I always recommend that people find any book really at their local independent bookstore because the local independent stores do so much for the literary ecosystem. So I love White Whale right here in Pittsburgh, but there are many wonderful ones around.
Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. I cannot wait to dive into this book.
Thank you.
So great.
Thanks so much.
And if you would like to purchase the illness lesson or get the details on the events that Rachel mentioned, you can head to our website, kdka.com/talkpittsburgh for more information. Still to come on the show, if your quick stretching routine isn't cutting it, a local business may be able to help, how regular classes can reduce pain or improve your athletic performance. That's coming up next.